It's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Rahul Shah, the Global Director of Built Environment at the British Standard Institution, BSI, who is going to speak about the business value of BIM and information management from a global perspective. Please let us welcome Mr. Rahul to the stage.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. First of all, I want to congratulate Engineer Mohammed, Dr. Ali, and Dr. Ibrahim, and the whole Dubai municipality team behind this great initiative. Such a bold and quite inspiring step forward from where we see, from around the world. This is a really great example of what a good leadership could look like, in terms of driving, and taking people on the journey and driving forward the industry in this important topic. So huge congratulations to all of you at Dubai municipalities, and thank you for the opportunity to engage today. I also must mention Clive, and what we saw from Building Smart today. Personally, I've been on the journey and at the receiving end of IFCs and all the interoperability, and I heard many questions in the room as well today, revolving around interoperabilities and some of the opportunities and challenges that we have in terms of making it even better. So congratulations, Clive, and the whole Building Smart international community for this is not a small feat, as we all know. But the great news is that everybody in this room also played a critical role in driving this forward. So huge congratulations to you all as well. Not only enabling Dubai municipality to come to where we are today, started with 2013 soft mandate. And the fact that, the leadership felt that it is the right time now after 10 years of the journey, taking people on the journey, that it is the right time. Huge contributions from the local businesses, communities, experts like yourself in the room. And I guess we all share common goal and, that passion to make that positive impact in the industry by leveraging sort of technologies, processes, as well as empowering people in terms of driving this good practice, right? So we heard a lot from Clive, from Dr. Ibrahim, Dr. Ali, and most of you as well as part of engagement, that how important it is to empower businesses and people as well. There might be, sometimes it can get a little confusing when we have two BSIs on the same stage, right? So I just wanted to clarify that, that I'm from British Standards Institution, BSI, and our fellow speakers, as you know, from Building Smart International. Both organizations are driving that common goal of supporting businesses and communities and people in making this positive change. I'm going to focus on the second part of, whilst Clive focused on open BIM, part of, open side of that topic, I'm going to focus on BIM, and most importantly, especially in the UK and globally, we are seeing the conversation has started shifting more towards information management part of BIM. Hence, BIM is now in bracket, and slowly it will maybe disappear as well. That's what we are hoping, that we don't get stuck with just BIM. It's more about strategic initiative. It's about how do we manage, leverage information, and we saw from Dr. Ibrahim some great sort of demonstrations of information, and information can be anything, right? Okay, it can be in the form of 2D, 3D. It can be in the form of non-graphical information and graphical information. But at the end of the day, I think we need to elevate the conversation to, how can we leverage information to make well-informed decisions. And as Dr. Ali mentioned, to improve lives towards the end, why are we doing all these things? Is it, to gain commercial advantages, or is it to more significant cause, which is, improving livelihoods, improving spaces that we live in, improving spaces that our children go to school to study, the hospitals, the rails, the transports that we take, right? And how can we leverage this good practice in terms of information management? So I'll try my best to cover some of these. I think the second bullet point should be quite, having heard all of you, I was rethinking my strategy in terms of how do I position this, because, you guys are all expert. There is no question about why anymore, from what I heard from you. There is no question of why. When we can see leadership from Dubai municipality mandating BIM, I think the next question that we should ask, and I should correct myself, and I'll try myself on the go to correct, is about how. How do we do this? We must do it, not for ourselves, but for our future generations and the generations to come, to make sure that our infrastructure is healthy, and we remove waste from the processes, from the buildings and everything, right? And how can we leverage this good practice that we collectively develop together? It's not one man sitting in a room developing, or a group of people somewhere in a corner of the world. I think these good practices like IFCs, 20 years, Clive mentioned, was it International Interoperability Alliance? Yeah. How many of you are aware that was international? Yeah. Great. Look, now it's buildingSMART International, right? It's a quite fundamental shift. It's not just about interoperability and exchanging information. It's about enabling businesses and communities to actually communicate. Look, I'm communicating in English, and if none of you can understand, or if you're struggling and understanding, then we can't have that dialogue, and we can't move forward, right? So it's a very, very important work that buildingSMART is doing. So once again, congratulations for that. I have a small video that I'd like to play, and people online, I don't know if this will play because the way Teams is shared. I don't know if we have shared with audio enabled, and whether or not they can listen. If we want to change that and reshare the screen with audio enabled, I'm happy to pause for that, or I can play. Oh, okay. Because usually in Teams, when you share a video, you click that button that says share computer audio, right? I just want to make sure that people online taking time out to listen, they have a better experience. So apologies for this. Guy mentioned in his earlier presentation, word trust. It's extremely important that we foster trust in everything we do in life, be in social environment, be it in a professional environment. When you exchange information, you got to have that trust built into that information, right? When you receive information, you got to have trust in that information that it is as per the quality and requirements. Trust is everything that we do in life, the way we communicate, right? Extremely important. And BSI has been supporting businesses and communities build trust and confidence in their services and products for more than 120 years now around the world. So that's BSI, and the difference between Building Smart and BSI. I thought I just include that little snippet. But most importantly, I want to reinforce what previous speakers already mentioned. Maybe a little different graphics here, but absolutely, it's about number one challenge that the world we are facing is climate change, as we know. And we have a massive opportunity as engineers and designers and asset owners in the room to actually make a positive difference through what we do on a daily basis. Because built environment sector, as Clive also mentioned, contributes to more, around 40% of that greenhouse gas emissions. Can we do something differently today, tomorrow, going forward, to actually contribute at least 0.1%, positively towards that challenge? Can we work in a slightly different way to actually not to meet the BIM mandate requirements of Dubai municipality, but actually leverage that leadership from Dubai municipality to remove waste, reduce waste? Can we improve that, energy efficiencies of the assets that we design, the assets that we operate, by utilizing, international good practices? And when I say international good practices, as I said earlier, it's not about people sitting, offline and writing something. It is based on a collective wisdom and knowledge from our experts like you in the room. Many of you may have been part of developing standards, commenting on standards. Standards are extremely important to actually, accelerate growth. In fact, sorry to go back to BSI, but our journey started, more than 120 years ago, right from the infrastructure sector. Back then, there were in 1901, there were 75 plus different types of tram track gauges in London. The civil engineers from Institute of Civil Engineers got together. We must standardize. From 75 to 5, and they standardized. But actually, what it helped is actually accelerate growth, manufacturing growth, around the world. And today, we still, work with some standard tram track gauges. And since then, and between then and now, the advancements like BIM, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchains, so many things, all contributing to this, addressing this number one challenge that we are facing. We also heard about rapid urbanizations. We don't need to go any further than Dubai. Or look at Dubai, what it is now today, and what it was, 20 years ago. Massive, rapid urbanization. And we have very finite resources available, whether it's people, whether it's material, whether, other resources. We have finite amount of resources available. How can we be more efficient in utilizing our resources, specifying our resources, managing our assets in a better way? Also, previous speakers mentioned, some of the strategic objectives of achieving, and these Dubai municipality BIM mandates are around productivity, around cost. How can we improve efficiencies of resources? How can we improve cost efficiencies as well? Right, and these are, I'm sure you are all familiar as well. These are some of the stats on screen that we are, from various thousands of, respondents. This is quite staggering, to be honest with you. What we see here on the screen: 35% of the time on construction sites we spend on non-productive activities, looking for information, ensuring that we have the right information. 35%. right? Still today, despite all the advancements in technology. And one of the, this vision of Dubai BIM mandate, as Dr. Ali and Dr. Ibrahim said, it's about how can we remove this waste from process and improve efficiencies, productivities, right? And if we deep dive into that productivity challenge, you might have seen this as well, top 3 reasons why we have this productivity challenge on construction projects are all related to information, all related to data, trust. Can I trust drawing that I have on site? Can I trust schedule that I've received? Can I procure those equipments based on the schedules? Oh, let me just double check. Or let me just double check the contract, specifications, requirements, and those double checking, triple checking, and checking, wasting too much time, right? And that is costing trillions and trillions of dollars, just a commercial number, some commercial number here, but indirectly it is costing huge amount of, efforts, resources. We have very finite amount of resources, right? So if you speak to CEOs and leaderships, and ask them, what keeps them awake, it's not the money. They can get the money, funding, but it's the people, it's the resources. We have very finite amount of resources. How can we make the best of it? So I'm slowly going to now zoom into, those global challenges that we're dealing with, and we have a great opportunity in front of us to actually make a positive impact. You all have that power, and we are in a position to actually make that positive impact through what we do today, that shapes our future and tomorrow for our next generation. I don't need to tell you what is BIM, because honestly, you know all better than me and and others. But what I want to emphasize on this is don't think of BIM as a 3D modeling or just a file format exchange exercise. It's much broader than that for your business, for your leadership. It's more about how can I procure the right information? How can I manage information in a better way in my business throughout my supply chain? And it's also about how can I exchange information in a trusted fashion that helps the entire value chain in on projects and in the industry. So to me, it's about that, it's information management. And the next question that you might ask yourself, that how do I go about making sure that I am doing the right thing in terms of managing information? And it's those how-to guides. We are fortunate that the industry over the last 10 years, since 2011, 12, 13, industry spent a lot of efforts and collected all the wisdoms and experiences into these 5 parts, good practices called ISO 19650 Part 1 to Part 5, which most of you must be familiar with as well. No need to, go into that detail. But again, that is a business strategic tool that you have available at your disposal in terms of connecting your information management conversations with your senior leadership, with your business management systems, and say, how can I embed this information management mindset secured, right, with a security minded approach into the business governance, into business processes. So to me personally, having been part of where you are in design consultants, contractors for over the last 22 years, this is a massive step forward for the industry as well. I remember those days as well, and you were all discussing about how to exchange CAD drawings, and I mean we come from that ammonia printing and manual drafting to CAD to now BIM, and now we have these strategic process documents, call them standard, how to guide, how do you manage information in a better way, right from day one of feasibility study all the way through to procuring your designers, procuring your main contractors, procuring your commissioning agents, procuring FMs, asset managers. how can you standardize that approach? Can you imagine, today, yes, Dubai municipality, but tomorrow there might be other Emirates in UAE and the whole wide world, procuring, managing, and exchanging information according to one common baseline, that, open standard ISO 19650. And, open BIM, IFC, and everything plays a critical part of that, Again, if we look at business value, I'm sure most of these would resonate with you as well, and you would have gone through this in your own businesses as part of your business case for BIM investment. Hey, I want to invest in hardware, I want to invest in software, I want to invest in people, right? Why do you need all these things? Is to drive some of the tangible business benefits for your own business, for your own supply chain, for your own projects. But number one for me, it's in the middle, is that green, is that climate change. Can we utilize BIM? Can we utilize, ISO 19650 information management mindset as part of, our business processes, governance processes, right? There are a ton of examples around the world. I just chose this one particular, from the UK example, and KPMG and Atkins developed that together a couple of years ago. I think it was 2021. You can see there is a commercial advantage and there is a business case for business leaders who understand money. Every single pound invested in BIM gives them, multiple advantages and benefits. And this is not buildingSMART saying, this is not BSI saying, this is the industry saying. This is coming from people like you, from experience, telling that, look, by implementing BIM, it has a huge potential in terms of savings that we can gain. So if you're looking for some examples to support your argument or case with your leadership in your business, I would highly recommend look at this report as well, the value of information management. And then I thought I just include this as a quick reminder as well, which I'm sure most of you would have seen in UAE and Dubai. But Road Transport Authority has been one of the early adopters and at the forefront of in terms of that good leadership. From authority point of view, from specifier point of view, what it looks like. Them adopting those international good practices. Back then it was PAS 1192 or British standards, and now the ISO standards, and they continue to drive that mindset into their supply chain and so forth. And what we are seeing today from the Dubai municipality is a great step forward in that. It's the entire industry now working towards it. As I said earlier, think about information management as a way of actually supporting your business management processes, business management systems. Take some time to understand this and have those conversations with your business leaders, business management system leaders. It's extremely important that what we are doing here plays a critical role in business resilience, business continuity, and in terms of overall brand of your business. But all these engineering and construction and operation data, it's all part of a valuable asset of your own business, of your own property, of your own assets. And this whole ISO 19650 suite of standards, and I think part 6 is coming in a year or two. I don't know exact date, but it will be a 6-part full suite to support you right from what is the concept. And our friend from Aegis asked a question earlier about the tall buildings and the file sizes and all those things. Look no further. Look at the standards. There is a federation strategy. The whole sort of support around that strategically. How do you approach projects? How do you split? You look at part 5, security-minded approach to BIM. How do you split your projects based on phasing, maybe your completion strategy, sectional completions, etc., etc. to also actually protect your information and give right access to right people, right? Therefore, the federation strategy is extremely important as well as part of your BIM sort of agenda. But all of these good practices and good tips and everything is captured in ISO 9650 Part 1 to Part 5. So far, in Part 6 is coming out shortly. I'd like to take now a few moments to actually just maybe most of you would be aware of it, but just remind you where we have been. Like, you know, Dubai municipality journey was very inspiring, 2013 to 2023 journey. And now October 23, the mandate comes, and then now we are into a new phase of that, you know, that journey, right? We have been, and we share equal sort of journey and experiences, because we've been on the same journey since 2011 in the UK. Prior to that, yes, we had BS 1192. Some of you may be familiar with that. But then, you know, I think the turning point for the UK was that year 2011 when, you know, the one of the government departments, you know, and part of that BIM working, you know, sort of party strategy paper published a hypothesis around how can we drive significant improvements in terms of cost, value, and carbon performance. It's important, and it's not necessarily in the order of priority, but you know, that was the vision. It's about value, it's about carbon, it's about cost, right? And we also recognized in the UK that there's got to be push-pull. Like, I can see a lot of pull today in the industry, you know, from you all asking those really great questions, you know, valid questions, you know. I can also see that, you know, that push from the top, you know, from Dubai municipality's leadership, but the pull, great pull from you all, you know, we want to do more. We want to do more, and this is how we can drive the agenda forward. So amazing, you know, kudos to you all in the room and people in the UAE. And sorry, if I go back. So it was recognized back in 2011 that the standards, the common way of doing things, open standards will play a critical role in enabling this vision, realizing this vision. And we embarked with the UK government and the UK industry, we embarked on the journey of creating those world's first BIM standards, information standards. Back in 2013 to, you know, 2016, those 5 parts, 6 parts. And it was part of that government's construction strategy published back then in 2011, you know, that all this formalizing this hypothesis now going out in the industry. And we had such a significant and such a, you know, positive response from the industry, not only in the UK, but globally. People like you as well, from UAE, from Japan, from Singapore, from around the world, overwhelmingly positive response on those PAS 1192, you know, series of standards, because those standards connected with business leadership, those standards connected with strategies, business strategies, your business management systems. And that's where we wanted to escalate the conversation to. It's got to be part of your board room conversation. Information management. It's no longer a technology conversation, because we've been having that for the last 20, 30, 40 years, right? We know that 3D modeling existed for how many years now, right? You know, many years, right? 70s, 60s, maybe 50s. It's about elevating that to business level. And then so that was for us, you know, sort of, sorry, if I go back, that was our phase 1 in terms of producing those guidelines. How to guidelines became standards, but it's how to. So when government say we want this BIM, and the next question industry asked how. And then the BSI worked with government and the industry and said, this is how to guide. Now, it's not us writing it, it's people like you writing it. And we just convening the experts and ecosystems and gatekeeping it to make sure that it's impartial, like Dubai Municipality and Dr. Ibrahim said, and Dr. Ali said, you know, we have to make sure that it's impartial and non-biased, and it doesn't sort of, you know, prohibit any trade activities and cause any barriers to trade for anyone, whether it's a small player or a big player, doesn't matter. the common language, the common processes must apply to everyone. And then in phase 2, we also got feedback from the industry that there is a powerful sort of space where we can make a huge difference in terms of health and safety, right? And we launched that in 2018. That part 6 of that last suite of PASIs, standard, how to leverage BIM for safety. Okay. And then as part of that phase 2, we also been through the journey in the last, since 2018 until now, about internationalizing these standards. So we work with the international communities and the public and consultations and so forth, and use those past standards became seed content for this 1190 ISO 19650 series of standards that you can see on screen. And if I fast forward that, back in 2011, we had UK BIM Task Group, and then we had UK BIM Alliance. And if I fast forward that to today, some of you may be familiar with. We have tried a few other options now. I hope that it works online now. And it also works in the room. Oops, careful. All right, I will move forward now. Please keep, sending your questions in the chat box, or any technical issues you may have in the chat box. So yeah, I was, fast forward that journey that we also equally been on that 10+ years journey in the UK. And now we have this robust UK BIM management framework, supported by BSI and NEMA. And the UK BIM framework is an overarching approach to implementing information management. So no longer BIM level 1, 2, and 3 and other things. It's mostly UK BIM framework. And NEMA and the rest of the industry is doing wonderful job in terms of providing tools and resources, standards, support, guidance, and investing huge amount of voluntary efforts from people like Andy Bootle, as well as others in NEMA and around the world, actually supporting the development and continuous improvement on those good practices and standards as well. Right, sorry, I'm having, okay, now it's working. So in terms of standards, you can see that UK BIM framework, these are the core standards that UK BIM framework sort of recommends. And you can see here, majority of them 19650 based standards. PAS Part 6 will become ISO once it's out in a year or two time. And then there is that, that 8536, in terms of how do you, start with end in mind in terms of operability, and operations and, management of information in mind, right from design, construction, and so forth. There is the conversation around some of the other standards as well that might become in future part of this UK BIM framework based on the industry feedback that we receive. So I've listed them in the corner there. And you can see that IFC standard 16739 part 1 is also, part of that suite of standards that, that might become UK BIM frameworks sort of approach. In terms of guidance, as I said, very, very comprehensive suite of guidance documents and keeps evolving as well. Huge efforts from the industry, all voluntary, by the way. All volunteering, efforts. It's people like you, who have passion to make that positive impact and difference in the world, continue to support developing this guideline for the industry. Okay, again, guidelines are available on NEMA website for free. Andy, correct? Yeah. And then we have lots of other resources as well, information protocols and videos and news, and continuously, the team keeps adding. We work together with the industry. Please get in touch with us or Andy Bootle from ALEC, who represents IMA internationally, Andy. And so Andy is based out of Dubai. ALEC, most of you might know as a contractor, very leading contractor. So yeah, some resources there as well for you to leverage. Just wanted to end with a few things, in terms of UK sort of additional level of sort of guidance and mandates that has come in the last few years as well. Most of you may be familiar with these documents on the right, construction playbook and transforming infrastructure roadmap to 2030. And you can see that there is an information management mandate through the application of UK BIM framework. Okay, so that overarching UK BIM framework is part of the information mandate in the UK, and it's been also referenced and linked with the public and private sector construction playbooks as well. Part of the mandate, I thought I extract some of the key points. As you can see, first and foremost, it's the confirmation with the UK BIM framework. But most importantly, one of my sort of favorites ones, because when I was in the industry, driving BIM and other things, and not at BSI at the time, I think one of the biggest challenges I faced also, is the security of information. And that second bullet point is about adoption of the ISO 9060 Part 5 is part of the information mandate, is a huge step forward as well in the industry. And then, Dr. Ali, Clive, Dr. Ibrahim all mentioned about, the specification. How do you request information? How do you request, processing of information, approval of information? So it's all about, that managing information right from production to management and exchange, right? And using those good practices. Do we have any lawyers in the room or QS in the room whose job is quantity surveying? No. So I'm sure most of you would be engaging with them on your daily interactions, but we need to get lawyers and we need to get QSs in the room as well as part of the BIM conversation. This is one of the lessons that we learned in the UK as well, that it was little late in the journey that we brought them into the conversation. Because actually, we realize that most of the contracts, no matter how good the good practice and everything, but the contracts, managed and led by those commercial people, QSs, legal lawyers. We need to first of all educate them, and they also need to help us come on the journey and help you in terms of professional indemnity insurance, in terms of liabilities, when you share information, all those things. I'm sure you must be grappling with those questions in your businesses as well, but you need to bring those people in these conferences, part of the conversation, help them understand the power of this tool, and also learn from them how we can sort of incorporate this information management requirements through ISO 9650 based suite of standards into the contracts, monitoring the contracts, and signing of the completion certificate and paying the check all the way through, right? How can you use that process? So we need, the lawyers are one of the, the key sort of stakeholders in this journey with you. You would find anyway. You will discover maybe accidentally sometimes or proactively. If you work with them, they will tell you why you shouldn't do it first, and then when you educate them, then they say, okay, why you should do it. It's all about risk management. It's all about protecting the risk of projects, protecting the risks of projects. Also go to your PI insurance broker, insurance providers, and your risk liabilities should also, profile should be impacted as well once you mature, right? So start having those conversations with insurance brokers as well. If you're a designer, if you're a contractor, if you're asset owners, and say, look, now we are going to utilize information management as part of our way of doing business. Is there any impact on my insurance? Start having those conversations the right time. Mandate has kicked in. And yeah, I don't want to bore you with this slide, but just in case if you need any support, additional support, then please do get in touch with British Standards Institution. We do have individual level BIM qualifications and training programs in more than 190 countries around the world with multiple languages. We also have organizational level and project level and software level certification programs as well. Some of you may be familiar with BSI's brand Guidemark as well. We go through rigorous sort of assessment activities and to support businesses embedding these good practices, right? So yeah, please, get in touch with, we have a local presence as well. And my colleague Indiana is here. Some of you may be familiar and know her, but we have a local office in terms of training, qualification. In fact, we have a huge focus, and Clive mentioned, and Dr. Ali, Dr. Ibrahim, Engineer Muhammad, everybody emphasize on the importance of empowering people. We could not, emphasize enough the power and of empowering people and realize the vision of Dubai Municipality BIM mandate. And from that point of view, BSI are truly committed to actually support the industry through education and training program, through this kind of free knowledge exchange programs led by Dubai Municipality. So please do get in touch with us. And with that, I would like to stop. Thank you. Do I have time to take any questions? Oh, thank you. Online as well as in the room, feel free to ask questions. Seems no questions, so maybe we can, oops. Is there any questions online, team, watching online? While people in the room are still digesting what I just said in the last 30 minutes, maybe. All right, well, I'll let you think. We have one person in the room, Dr. Ibrahim, go for it.
Standard. Remember the standard. Every day we have new standard. Now, my question is, who should read those standards? Because if you need to learn about film, there's now massive amount of knowledge we need to be familiar with. So when it comes to standard, who do you think should be specialized in? They should just scan through it. Everyone should know about the standard in details, or it's not required for everyone. When it comes to documenting.
Yeah. No, that's a good question. I will just repeat for my online colleagues and friends. Question from Dr. Ibrahim that we saw a suite of BIM standards during my presentation. Who should build knowledge on those standards? And I think it's quite similar to how you are leading BIM in Dubai Municipality, Dr. Ibrahim. And I don't see it any different than any other change programs. So you need to have senior leadership awareness about why this change in my business. Right? So senior leadership don't need to know the clause 3.7 of ISO 1952 says that I should have common data environment enabled in my business. They don't need to know that. What they need to know is that is information management important for my business, number one. How is it going to add value to my business? And then what standards exist to support my business and my teams to implement it? Right, so it's about the business value, right? At the leadership level. But once the leadership like you did BIM, we're getting lots of questions technically from the next level of leaders and say, okay, well, my job, I'm head of BIM. I'm responsible for BIM strategy in my business. What are the standards and clauses that I should incorporate and be mindful of when developing strategy? So that head of BIM and the leadership of teams level need to have a certain level of awareness. Then you have people actually, and I really liked what you said about your role, which actually you have been quite modest in terms of like you are doing all the, but actually you're doing very important work, actually, making it happen, right? When Engineer Muhammad and Dr. Ali said all the beautiful things, actually behind that, how can you realize that vision that they have and your leadership have? So then you might need to go to the next level of granularity in terms of learning those standards, right? So, and it's part of the BIM qualifications at BSI that we offer. So we have, I sound a bit like a salesman now, but those 7 different BIM training programs. You have half a day sort of business value of BIM for strategic senior leadership. From that to all the way to practitioner and professional qualifications, where you learn about standards in detail. Now, not everybody needs to learn all standards, right? So if you're not into asset management phase and you're only designer or a contractor, then you need to maybe only look at a few of those standards, not all of them, right? So again, through that BSI, we have that qualification pathway, practitioner and professional, where you go through those conversations with our experts and they can explain you as well that, look, and it's a common sense, right? Yes, you're right. There are, if you look at UK BIM framework, that list I had, that so many standards, right? And you might ask, well, okay, well, where do I start? I have some in the box as well, still, right? So it's based on your business needs, really, what's your need? And then you pick standards. And if you need any help, I'm sure, people in the room, your friends, your network, and BSI as well can help you choose the right standard for you and your business and your people, right? But yeah, absolutely. Businesses, I tell you what, that's a really good question. Business is leadership. That slide, everybody should print this and show it to your leadership and take this slide. Of course, you'll have a slide available afterwards, show it to your leadership and start having those conversations that how information management plugs into and actually enhances our business management system. That's the level of detail that your leadership need to know, right? Then the next level is about those clauses and standards. And then, okay, well, how can I, go a bit further into this and have champions? And who should be aware, in my opinion, personal opinion, whether you're design manager, architect, if I talk about construction project sites, for example, project manager, package manager, construction managers, design managers, quality managers, safety managers, commissioning managers, they should have, in my personal opinion, knowledge about, standards relevant to them, like standards, detail, right?